Hello, this is Marco, and we're here with my good friend Jack Holt, and we're celebrating the 182 years of Shiloh, Cumberland Presbyterian Church. And I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. Okay, Jack, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the church?
The church was started by people from Tennessee who came here for land. And the names are in the surveys in the county today. Hamilton, Latimer, Ellis. Those three people...
Just keep talking. I'm going to switch positions.
Those three people were members of the congregation and were signers of the Texas Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And so they were politically involved. At that time, the courthouse was in this community. And this community was called LaGrange. That's significant because it's a French term meaning all being equal. And that's significant because it was unclear whether this was part of the Louisiana Purchase, or was it part of Texas, or was it part of Arkansas. And so it was a significant thing. When the Clark family came to the area, also wealthy people came to this area, and politics moved the courthouse to Clarksville.
So that's why we get the name Clarksville.
That's correct. And so it was called Clarksville, and the courthouse was moved there. And so the political involved people also moved their activities to Clarksville. And at that time, part of the church went and joined another church. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much for coming.
You're totally fine. Don't worry.
And so part of the congregation went up there because they were involved in politics, and the other part stayed with the church here. The old people, descendants of the Hamiltons, are still active in the church today. And descendants of the Hamiltons, and I knew and preached to the lady that talked to her grandma, and her grandma was a young lady when that church was in existence. And she told her that it never ceased to exist. They had periods of time without a preacher, but they had services every Sunday.
That's awesome. Now tell me about the road that is next to the church.
The church road, 3205, that goes by the church now, was the main road that was from Red River through the south side of the county. It worked its way around. It came by the church. It goes on through Annona, goes south from Annona. And matter of fact, just not very far from Annona was a stagecoach station where people got on the stagecoach, and they say, history says, that road, pardon me, that road was so good that you could go from here to Jefferson and back in just 15 days.
Just 15 days?
just 15 days. You could go there and back. Now that was with a wagon with oxen hauling freight, so it was like a real fast trip to do that in 15 days.
Well, that's incredible. That's a privilege for you to be the pastor of that church. How do you end up working in this church?
Well, I have filled in for years when preachers were vacationing or for whatever problem, and the people would call me to fill in. Well, they came to me to fill in. I had filled in before here. And so when they lost a preacher, they came to me and asked me would I come preach until they could find someone. That was 14 years ago. And they haven't found anyone.
Wow.
They haven't been looking, I suppose.
Well, I guess that was God's plan. Now tell me about there. I heard that there's a very interesting story about the cross that you have on the wall behind the pulpit. So what is that all about?
I was an employee at Allen Lumber Company.
In what year?
In 1957, 58, 59.
So how old were you?
Well, let's see. I was 23, 24.
Okay.
That long in that time. And I worked in the shop at Allen Lumber Company. And Billy Sam Allen had me to build that cross and install those lights in it. And I did not have a clue where it was being used. So I built a cross in the shop there at Allen's and got it all. And he said it looked great and took it somewhere, but I didn't know where. And when I came out to this church the first time to fill in, I looked up and saw that cross. I said,
same cross.
The same cross. It's incredible that I built that cross back then. And